I just, Ethan was up just before this, and I told Ethan and I told you during our dry run that I reached out to you and Ethan first when I thought of doing this, and because both of you said yes, this whole thing is happening. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
well, I'm grateful it worked out.
Absolutely. So, Julie, as I mentioned, I'll do a quick intro for you, and I'll get off the stage, and I'll let you take it from there. Okay.
Sounds
Uh,
good.
so, for those of you who don't know Julie, she's a professional screen actor and award-winning author, helps sales teams record more compelling videos faster that stand out with busy prospects and open doors. A pioneer of using video in sales, Julie's groundbreaking book, Look Me in the Eye Using Video to Build Relationships, was named Top Sales Book of 2021. And those of you who follow Bits About Books, our podcast, there is
Mhm.
a great session with Julie with lots of backstory of how the book actually came about. You'd like to take a look at that. Um, in addition to a successful career in sales, Julie honed her on camera skills, performing in over 75 commercials, films, and television shows. Her master classes on video outreach and virtual executive presence offer a unique blend of performance principles and best practices to help salespeople achieve greater success on camera. A little bit about the session. To make captivating, irresistible videos that engage prospects and open doors, why not learn from the experts in the craft, actors? In this session, Julie shares professional acting and on camera techniques for elevating your video outreach, from breathing life into your script to connecting with an invisible audience and conveying screen presence. Say goodbye to the hard way and accelerate your results. Julie, take it away.
Thank you, Shipanja, and appreciate that. And I love this format because it really forces me to eat my own dog food, which is I'm always saying, cut to the chase in video, get to the point. So we're going to do that. You may be thinking, gee, Julie, I'm not an actor. Why do I need to know what an actor does? And how can I apply that and why? Uh, and let me answer that with a couple of questions. So, do you record videos on camera where no one is on the other side? You're not recording a live conversation, it's just you recording a video. Yes. And do you send that to someone who hopefully is going to watch it at another time? So that asynchronous connection. Do you use a script? Do you have some words, either formal or informal, that you want to be sure to say? And finally, do you hope that by watching this video, your prospect will want to connect with you and take possibly some action? Well, if you checked yes to any of those boxes, surprise, you are an actor, whether you think you're one or not. This is what an actor does. They talk to an audience they can't see, and they engage them and draw them in and maybe motivate them to change the way they behave or see the world or buy products if you're doing commercials. So, uh, the good news is that they have this whole world of techniques that they've developed over decades and decades of how to engage with people in the camera that they can't see. And that's fantastic because we can actually learn from those. But the bad news is that most sellers have not been given any indication that there are other things they can do besides getting on camera and hitting record and doing the best they can. And so what happens is a lot of sellers are excited about getting on video, and then it sort of peters out because they're not getting the results they want and people are deleting their videos. There's more and more competition. Video is really heating up, as you'll probably learn from some of the other speakers here. So it's more competitive and prospects are getting very choosy about what they watch. And what I see sales teams doing is going, okay, we need more tools, we need the latest tool and trick, and we need um, a better script. We need to wordsmith this, run it through Chat AI a couple of times, Chat GPT, and what's the ideal length now? What's the great subject line that's going to catch their attention, and the cadence? And I'm here to tell you that none of those things are going to matter if you can't connect and build a relationship through the camera with your prospect. Uh, this is the crux of what we're doing here in video outreach, unless of course you're sending a how-to video or something along those lines. But if we're using video to connect with someone and hopefully have that lead to a conversation in business, that's our goal. And so we need to make sure that we are doing the things that are going to make that possible. So throwing all these tools at and doing all this other busy work behind the scenes, which I call it, is like producing a movie and spending all your time on getting the right director and the script and the makeup artist and the costumes and marketing, and then hiring this guy who who doesn't have an ounce of experience, or well, not experience, because we've all been on camera probably for at least a couple of years. That doesn't mean we're good at it, but doesn't know how to connect with someone they can't see in the audience. It's not going to be a success. So we're going to talk today about some techniques that actors learn, that we can apply in sales, because we really are doing it the hard way now. Everybody's just trying to figure it out. And like, if I do it enough times, maybe I'll get good at this. And we adjust things and we're like, well, I don't know if that's better. So I'm going to give you some practical tips to start applying and really see what can happen when you try to focus on the connection and not necessarily all the technology tricks we have. So what I'm going to share with you are some of the techniques in my amazing video outreach program, which is based on how actors approach bringing a script to life in front of the camera. So it starts off with that audition, which is really what your first prospecting video is. If you think about it, you're auditioning for a role in their life, in their business. If you don't make that audition, you rarely get a second chance. So we've got to nail that audition. Then there's that how we take that script and bring it to life for our audience. If it was enough to just have a great script, we could send it to someone, right? Then there's that screen presence piece, how we light up the screen, how we engage people and help them see the best of us on camera. There's some recording secrets I share in the course to make things go faster and be more efficient. And of course, without performance notes, which is feedback on how you're doing, you're really sort of operating in the dark, because it's very hard to constructively review your own video. I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but it's a challenge to just look at the constructive things and not go, oh, what's going on with my hair, and get distracted by things that don't really matter to your prospect. All right, so I want to pull out a couple of pieces of this. So if you think about your video as an audition, what experts have found that and this is true of an audition, that's true of a video, that people form opinions very quickly. In those first 7 seconds, they decide if you're confident, if you're trustworthy, if you're likable, if you're worthy of attention, which is why so many videos get deleted at about 5 to 7 seconds, because we haven't proven that. We don't look confident. We don't seem credible. We're it's not really seeming like it's worth their time to watch the whole thing. And again, if we don't make that cut, we've got a real problem. We're not going to have another chance, likely. So if you think about what goes into that 7-second first impression, it's based on a number of communication pieces. But the biggest part by far is your physical presence, just how you show up. It's also your background when you're on camera, and your lighting, and what everything contributes to that first impression. So that's 55% of it. 38%, the sound, the tone, the quality of your voice. As you can see, only 7% is the words. Now, of course, if your words are gibberish, it doesn't matter how great your physical presence is. But if you think about it, you can't say a lot of words in 7 seconds. So unless your words are really amazing, I'm going to save you $1 million, or really terrible, they're probably not going to be the factor that drives the rest of the video. So what we want to make sure is that we are using that 7 seconds and making the most of it. We need to know what our first impression says to our audience, and most people don't know. Does it say you're confident? Are you saying credibility? What does that look like? What does that sound like? Because if you are not, that video is going to go in the trash, because prospects are getting very protective of their time. And as you know, I was just going through my email and I was looking for things I could delete, right? And so I might give something a chance, but I'm not, if it doesn't grab me right away, I'm not necessarily going to watch it. Now, part of being credible and confident and compelling on camera is this technique that actors often use, and you've probably seen it, where they talk directly to the camera and it feels like they're talking just to you, this breaking the fourth wall, which, yes, is partly about eye contact, and that's absolutely vital. But it's also this sense of, we're having a conversation. You're not just another name in a list of 20 videos that I'm recording today. We are here together, sitting across from each other. And so it's very important to think about talking to one person. Video is a very personal medium. Even if you're recording something to send to a bunch of people, if you think about talking to one person, your focus is much more personal and intimate. Whereas if you're thinking about talking to a group, or oftentimes we're just thinking about getting the words out and saying to the camera, then it gets very presentational. Our eyes sort of are unfocused, and it just doesn't have that personal connection, and we don't see your personality. So talking to one person is vital. I don't know if anyone's heard this fact: camera adds 10 pounds. I'm sorry, there's some truth to that. But it's that flattening effect that the camera does. But that's not the issue. The other issue that people do not realize that really hurts us on video is that the camera takes away a ton of energy. First of all that physical energy that you feel when you're in a room with people, that's gone. They haven't figured out a way to recreate that yet. So we have to bring that energy. And I was working with an on-camera reporter who was saying that she knows that she has to bring enough energy for both sides of the conversation when she's talking to the camera. And that's a great way to look at it. Most people bring much too low energy, and that's just the easy way to click out, is when somebody's just bland and monotone. And oftentimes it's because we're seated in our comfy chair and we're doing a bunch of videos and we're trying to be natural, right? We're trying to be natural. Well, there's a big difference between natural and comfortable. I think we're more trying to be comfortable, and we slip into this, well, this is natural. I don't want to see you at your natural state, when you're flipping through channel surfing. I want to see how you naturally are when you're super engaged and you're really excited about what you're talking about. That's the level of natural behavior we want to aim for. And what happens is, a lot of times we don't hit that energy level until about halfway through our video. So you have to be at 100% of your energy performance level before that camera goes on, because those first few seconds are so vital. I see so many videos that they don't hit that sweet spot until too late. Nobody's watching. So we have to ramp up ahead of time. And one of the ways to do it is to warm up your whole body, even though it feels like, well, it's just my voice and my face. You have to get that energy up. And I have a 7-minute warm up that takes you through to some of those vocal warm ups, facial, body, energy, and helps you find your peak state. And sometimes we need that when we're seated for a long period of time and our energy goes down. So you can hit me up the email or LinkedIn if you want a copy of that warm up. So lastly, I want to talk about how we kind of pull this together, how actors work with scripts, because I think we have very little instruction on the great craft of taking words that perhaps you didn't even write and bringing them to life. and making them your own. It really is an art, but there's also technique behind it. So the goal of working on a script, building your script, practicing your script is to bring those words to life, to use them to connect with your audience, and to make it a dialogue, which I now sounds counterintuitive, but I'm going to show you how that works. Most sellers right now are recording monologues, and monologues are very hard to pull off. Even great actors have to really work. A monologue is one of the hardest things to do well. And when you see it done well, it's like, wow, it blows you away. But mostly we're seeing a lot of bad monologues, which is somebody just talking to the camera, and there's no engagement, no sense of dialogue, that we're having a conversation, and it gets very rote. And it's easy to delete those because they don't grab your attention. What I want you to think about is this idea that it's never a monologue, it's a dialogue. Even when an actor has a monologue, like I've had monologues in shows, you approach it as a dialogue. It's just that the other person's part is silent. So if you can think of it, it is a conversation. It's just the other person is having these thoughts in their head. Right now, you're probably having a stream of thoughts in your head as I'm talking. So we really are having a conversation. And if I can try to tap into that, we can be sort of on the same page, and it feels very present and personal. So thinking about, how do I make this more of a dialogue? And if it's a dialogue, you know that your tone changes. You have different pauses. You think about things. You consider what someone might have said. So it brings in all these nuances that make a conversation real. And there's two ways that actors really approach this to break that down, or two of the ways that I'm going to share with you today. The first one is to break your script down into beats. And the purpose of this is both to help you memorize it, and also to really internalize what you're saying. Because just reading a script and not being attached to the words on an internal way never comes across as authentic. It just can't. The other way is to what I call answer the unspoken question. So let me give you an example of a script I might use, and then how I might apply some of those tools. So this is a script I would use to prospect with sales leaders who have maybe just implemented a video outreach tool. And so it's a number of thoughts there. It's kind of all glommed together, and I could just memorize that like most of us do. It's fantastic that your team is using video to build a business, but let's address the elephant in the room. And he's always done. Okay, do not memorize a script like this, all right? It will come out very rote. You'll get very stuck in a certain delivery pattern, which does not sound authentic. So what I want to do is I want to first break that script down into individual beats. Each beat is a different idea, right? The first is, what's it about? It's a greeting. It's congratulating them and introducing a seed of doubt. It's fantastic your team's using video, but let's address the elephant in the room. So when I know what that beat is about, it helps me remember the words. The beauty of being on video and doing your own prospecting is there's not a playwright that's going, hey, you missed that word. So it's okay to ad lib, but if you know what you're saying and why you're saying it, it's much easier to remember. The second beat is, well, many sellers dive into video with high hopes, and then they get frustrated because their videos aren't getting watched or opened, or they're getting inconsistent results. So that's about the why, right? And then the next one is, well, what is the answer? It's not about the tools. What is it? It's about how we empower our sellers with these skills. And lastly, it's about, well, how do I do that? Well, I'm Julie, and I'm going to help you, and here's how, and here's a way to connect with me. So now I've got some beats there, and if I focus on really being clear what each beat is, again, it helps me remember it, and it helps me deliver it in a way that has intention, and I'm not just reading words. Lastly, I want to think about how do I make this a dialogue, by thinking about what is going on in my prospect's head as they are watching this. So what is the first thing someone's thinking as they click on your video? What's this about, right? So if you don't address that right away or intrigue them in some way, and it just sounds very boring, they're not going to go any further. So what's this about? Hey, it's fantastic your team's using video to do outreach for new business, but let's address the elephant in the room. Now, naturally, you're probably thinking, well, what is the elephant? Well, many salespeople are finding that they start out with high hopes and then they stop using it because they're not getting the results that they want or need, and it's taking too much time. Well, why is that? Why do I need more tools? What's the answer? It's not about more tools. It's actually about how do we empower sellers to connect with people through the camera that they cannot see and cannot hear in a way that showcases their confidence and credibility in 7 seconds or less, which is when most videos get deleted. And then at that point, they may be thinking, well, how do I do this? What's involved? I'm Julie Hansen, and if you'd like to find out how to help your sales team deliver more engaging videos that get opened, watched, and acted upon, find some time on my calendar below. So that's the start of how we bring that script to life. It's not just reading words. Now, I know some people say, well, can I just use a teleprompter to read off the words so I don't have to remember all this or memorize this? Have you ever seen an actor in a movie or a television show, unless it's about acting, using a script? No, you don't, because you wouldn't believe them. And the point is, we are trying to build credibility in these personal videos that we're sending out. And the minute you use a teleprompter app or the actual teleprompter tool, you lose that credibility. There's so much AI in the world and question about, is this real? Is that real? You introduce doubt. And if you think you're getting away with it, I guarantee you you're not. It's a very tricky skill. Even actors have to take classes and learn how to do it. If you're using a video, if you're using a teleprompter, there's that subtle movement, sometimes not so subtle movement in your eyes. They're off just enough to go, what are they looking at? Like, it just feels off, because the camera is really a lie detector, so your audience will pick that up. It's a wooden delivery. We emphasize the wrong words because they're just coming up as we see them. And it's just a very disconnected experience. So I caution you to avoid those at all costs. If you use a script analysis program that helps you internalize those words, you can memorize the scope of a 45-second video, I promise. I'm not the world's best memorizer, and I absolutely promise you can do that. All right, so these are just some snippets from my program. There's a lot more to it. If you're interested, certainly feel free to reach out. But let's take any questions you guys might have.
Thank you, Julie. This was great. I think people are going to take back a lot. There was a lot to take back, and that's the whole idea, that we help people start thinking about uh, what they're doing and what they can do better. I mean, opening
Mm-hmm.
mind to possibilities is what this is about. Uh, Benjamin wants to ask a question. Let's see what he's saying.
He says,
Hey, Benjamin, go ahead.
I really enjoyed it. Well, thank you. Thank you. And this is, I think, this is a missing piece that we're not leveraging. And there's so much more competition in video now that I think this is a real game changer when we start to look at it as like, how do I make this more of a personal connection through the camera, especially with all this artificial intelligence going on?
Absolutely. Can you hear me, Julie?
Yes. Hey, Benjamin.
Okay, awesome. Hey there. I really enjoyed, like I said in the chat, your session. I'm moving from a BDR role into more of like a mid-market AE role,
Mhm.
which will be, a lot of video interfacing. So that's why I took the opportunity to really lead into this session. Is this something that you sell to like sales teams? Is this process, is what you offer, right, for like the individual contributor or for a sales team?
I have both, and so I have like an on-demand and coaching program for individuals, and then a program for teams. Absolutely. So feel free to reach out. I can share with you what the different options are.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Okay, great.
Asking.
Thank you. There's one more question before we wrap this up. This is
Yes.
part from the questions that came in when people registered. So we had corrected
Hmm.
questions. One of those: how can personalized video content be effectively utilized to attract and capture attention of potential leads? This is from Ricardo Acquart.
Well, I believe that every video is personal because video is a personal medium. So from that regard, if you ever look at it as a mass medium, uh, you're missing the point. So that means your not only does your content need to be as personal as possible. I know it's sometimes we don't know enough about a person, but if you know their role, their company, something that's probably important to them, keying into that, and then having that personal conversation, and understanding that you can get all the personal information that you want. Some of these videos I see that the scripts are, I know this about you, I know that, but if you don't deliver it in a way that feels personal and empathetic and interested in them, it's still going to fall flat. So it's personalization on both the content and the delivery that really makes a difference.
Right. There's one more, the last one. This is from Yevit. What recommendations do you have for Spanish native speakers who are afraid of not being understood? I definitely like your ideas, but I see many colleagues using a teleprompter. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, if you're going to use a teleprompter, take some classes, take some courses. Uh, Absolutely. I know that, when there's language translation issues, that does make it trickier. But I would say if you're good at it, you have enough acumen with the language, even if you struggle with the words a little bit, I'd rather you have a authentic conversation with me, and maybe using some your pronunciation isn't spot on, but I admire people that do that, and that's very authentic. And if you practice it and just get some help on the words that maybe you struggle with, that's fine. But I think it's much better to come across authentic than perfect. So it's about connection, not perfection.
Right. And the last one over here, it's at the bottom. You mentioned that the background is important. What are common mistakes? What are the do's and don'ts?
Good question. Yeah, there's a lot there, but I would say your background is there to support you. It's not the main show. It shouldn't steal the spotlight from you, and so it should set you up. I prefer natural backgrounds because it puts you on an equal footing with your audience, and it makes you appear more authentic. You also don't have that weird distortion that can distract people, and I think we're all a little tired of some of the inauthenticity in the world. So as authentic, natural as possible. Doesn't have to be fancy. Simple, plain is better than fancy virtual. So just make sure you're well lit, well positioned. There's nothing distracting, and no light behind you.
Julie, thank you so much. This was a great session. I think people have enjoyed it, and I'm sure there'll be people who'd like to reach out and talk to you, which I will facilitate very happily. All of you can reach out to us. You can reach out to Julie directly. She's on LinkedIn, and we'll be very happy to help you with any information that you need further. Julie, thank you again. I really appreciate, and I hope to continue this work with you, and
Absolutely.
and see you soon.
All right. Enjoy the rest of the sessions. I'm going to be checking in as well.
Okay, we'll be back in a
Okay.
minute.